the evolution and transformation of conscious human motivation is key and core to healthy, sustainable life process on this planet for human beings. We have been motivated in the past by profit, greed, having what we want, feeding on the planet, feeding on each other, feeding on other species, by destroying the planet for our own well-being or pleasure or safety or continuance of our species. That dynamic of motivation is no longer viable. With our current population as large as it is, that dynamic of motivation cannot be sustained. There isn't a system of governance in our world that will manage that. If we have a transformational path and process and set of mechanisms and facilitative capacity that make it feasible and possible for humanity to evolve out of those motivations and into higher motivations, to operate from them consistently, not out of simple fear of being judged or punished or criticized or put in jail or anything like that, or ostracized by the tribe, out of conscious understanding of the necessity, the benefit, the wholesome potential, the realized understanding of the goodness and of such a path and process. So this diagram here shows that in our understanding, education and learning and information must be introduced. There must be healing and transmutation and release of the past, expedited grieving of the past that has served as best it has served and no longer serves, generating an evolutionary process for humanity that then generates transformation of consciousness and globally, arriving at the 100th monkey capacity more expeditiously, more rapidly, so that humanity makes that leap without everyone being required to learn a lot of stuff. So they simply understand at their foundation, yes, the world has moved on. The world must change. Conscious evolution beyond fear of learning to evolve out of our history. So in the past, we have literally been afraid of learning to evolve out of tradition and tribe and collective life process and dynamics of politics, economics, and governance. And that fear is holding us back. The path to comprehensive equality and the resistance to equality that is endemic in our species, and that resistance to equality, which is a resistance to conscious collaboration at scale in a sustained fashion. We have been trying to find ways to balance and rebalance. We've got the haves and have-nots. We're gaming the system. In spite of COVID, in spite of so many people being so less solvent now due to COVID, there are 70%, I believe, of the wealth of the most wealthy people in the world. It has increased by 70% in the midst of supply chain issues, in the midst of people being out of work, in the midst of so many people dying. The wealthy have become way more wealthy. What does that mean? Does that mean that somehow, some way, the economic system of our world has been gamed, has been taken over in the background, is not operating the way we thought it operated, and that there has been such an accumulation of wealth and power and influence in our world that no matter what the conditions, no matter how many people die or starve or live in states of disease or squalor, the wealthy are just focused on accentuating their process of acquiring more wealth. That's not a criticism of the wealthy. That's a statement of a dynamic that we might suggest is fundamentally non-sustainable species-wide. This imbalance that we're trying to imagine ourselves to be in balance and to ignore the imbalance of is profound. It's being exhibited in climate change and generating climate change. If we haven't said this before, the WSS, our intention is to generate conscious collaboration in the world. Part of the path and process to that is resolution of climate change, because climate change is endemic. It is a symptomology of an endemic incapacity and set of learning disabilities in our species, as well as traditional predispositions that are self-destructive in nature. There's got to be a process that people can relate to, i.e., the resolution of climate change, for them to become willing to shift into conscious collaborative modes, and a practice field for practicing that, an environment for saying, this is when, where, how, and why it's necessary to be consciously collaborative. And this is a way to practice conscious collaboration. So climate change is the school book, it's the textbook for this process of evolution of consciousness for humanity. We wish to ensure that we maximize the learning that results, and that we don't just try to put band-aids on things while the world goes over a cliff.